how much credit does Andrew Berry deserve here, Mary Kay? Because on the one hand, he held firm, never wavered on his messaging, had the organization in line with him, right? All the way to the point where Jimmy Haslam was like, no, I'm not going to meet with you. You have to talk to Andrew. Everyone was in lockstep. And ultimately, before the league year even starts, he gets this deal done. On the other hand, it was kind of just, hey, here's $40 million a year. I don't want to say that that's not hard to hammer out one of these deals, but also, I mean, how hard is that to just say to Myles, here's some life-changing money that sets records and makes you the highest paid non-quarterback ever. But how much credit does Andrew get for kind of how this all played out?
Well, I think he handled it very, very well from start to finish. He never wavered. He stuck to his guns. He resisted the temptation to perhaps let Myles go out and seek a trade, right? Because that would have been easy. I, by Friday, had advocated that because I thought maybe Myles needed a reality check to see that perhaps there wasn't going to be $40 million from another team floating around out there. Or maybe another team wasn't going to be willing to give the Browns what they were going to ultimately cave for in a trade. So that was sort of the method to my madness, but they were willing to let it get as ugly as it had to. You had Myles out there just as recently as a couple of days ago. Their camp was telling Tom Pelissero of NFL Network that he was prepared to sit out games. But the Browns never blinked. They never, ever blinked. Once again, they presented that united front. And even to a man, Kevin Stefanski, what did he say at the NFL Combine? He 100% said, I expect Myles to be here this year and in future years. So they knew what they were doing on this. And in the past, there wasn't that kind of solidarity in the organization or alignment in the organization. And when you have that, it's a great foundation upon which to build. And you could be in a lot worse places right now. I wouldn't have said that in 2016 or 2017. They were a mess back then. But now they are aligned. And in matters such as these, this is where you see how it absolutely really comes in handy. Now, having said that, it's really easy to get someone's attention with $40 million a year. $40 million a year. You couldn't give Myles 36 right now just to get him above Max Crosby. That was not going to cut it. In order to get this thing done now, they had to go and give him the top of market contract.
I think there's something to be said too about not just alignment, but these guys all trust each other. Like Kevin and Jimmy and everyone else in the organization trusted Andrew when he decided we're not budging.
Yeah, I think that's where I give Andrew and the organization just so much credit. And I mean, you guys have obviously covered the much more tumultuous years of this team. And it feels like in years past, this is a situation that chaos would have been lurking around every corner in terms of this team just not being on the same page. And again, you guys saw it with coaches and front offices arguing with each other and ownership not being on the same page with either of them. Like, this could have gotten so much uglier if it was happening 5 to 8 years ago, I think, versus right now. So that ability that Andrew, this front office has to just kind of hold down the fort, keep things steady, I think you do get a lot of credit. At the same time, you had to throw down a record-breaking amount of money to get it done. So it's not like that was necessarily any groundbreaking tactic that they used to placate Myles and get everyone on the same page in that regard. But I do think where I give Andrew in this front office the most credit is just remaining level-headed. It seemed like no matter who we talked to, no matter what the situation was from December 20th onward, that the Browns were never really outwardly rattled by this. And I don't think they were that inwardly rattled by this either. And I think ultimately that's what helped them get this deal done today. But at the same time, when you talk about the deal itself, it's like, oh yeah, you threw a bunch of money at him. Like, of course, that's going to placate eventually when the number gets big enough. So while that part of it's not groundbreaking, I think the fact that they were able to hold it together, remain a cohesive front, that's where most of the credit is for me.